Did you know that according to Google AI, 1 in 6 Windows computers are still running Windows 10? If you are on Windows 10 and watching this full screen, then minimize the video and click on the clock in the bottom right corner of your taskbar. On Windows 11, Microsoft took that clock panel away from us. So I just ended up making my own little widget, and I call it SmartClock. But how did I get from this simple Python widget to a flip phone? In this video, I'll take you down the memory lane and show you exactly what I've been working on for the past couple of years. The concept was to make a cool pixelated arcade clock panel that has ticking seconds. I settled on the design and started adding useful features. The main reason I created this widget was to help me keep track of birthdays. So naturally it had to have a calendar. And then I also added notes, just because I could. You can also make this in the sticky notes. And then it also has this lunar screen with a bunch of information on the moon. And then it's also a little timer which you can start and stop. And then you can also input a custom value and it will just count down. I ended up with a whole bunch of features, and when I was done, everything just felt natural. So natural that I started missing it from time to time. I wanted to access my notes even when I wasn't around my laptop. I thought, how great would it be to have this on my phone too? So I just had to port it. Porting from Python to Kotlin was relatively easy, but Android has its little quirks, which are better to work with than to fight against. Alright, so let me take this Chinese super brick, which I'm using to run my Discord bot by the way, and then I'm gonna use this to show you on this phone how the app works and what's it all about. If you experience some downtime in the Discord bot, I'm sorry, but that's because I'm recording this video. So, we can see some to-do stuff on the lock screen, and then on the main screen you can see the widget. And it's gonna display all the reminders here on the top, and then if you have an alarm it's gonna be on the bottom. So let's just click on that. This is the main screen, the main clock screen I call it, where you can add or remove cities, and then you're gonna see what time it is there. Cool. So the next screen, you can either tap on the bottom navigation bar or you can also swipe it. This one is just a simple stopwatch. You can also set a countdown thingy. Basically the same as the desktop version. Next up we have the calendar. And then you can see I have an event going on. It's Scrap Mechanic release date, which you can also see here. It's happening tomorrow. This 2026 progress bar is needed because that's a permanent notification you have to run a foreground service, which in this case is the widget. Okay, so we have this. We can add reminders if we simply click on the any day, and then we can type hi. If we go back, we're gonna see we have one reminder, and then it's also flashing here. And then it also has a haptic. Does it pick it up? So subtle. It's like a ticking. So yeah, to clear it, you have to, you just go boop, delete, gone, bye bye. The next screen is the lunar screen, also the same as on the desktop. You can see the degree, you can see the next phase of the moon and in how many days it is. You can see the moon age, the illumination, and how far it is to the millimeter. The next is we got some notes, and then if we hold this, fogjon ki az agyat, hogy itt furz a kurva anyád. And then if we hold this one, then this is gonna bring up our to-do list, which, oh my, wait, bazd meg, becsukom geci az ablak, fúró geci. And We can add more to the to-do list down here with this button. We can set the priority. High priorities get this notification. That's basically it. We can set a title and we have the little description for that. We can also hold this button down, and then this is gonna bring us to our wallet. It's a non-custodial wallet. It currently supports Polygon. We have Dogecoin and we have Bitcoin. We can send and receive. It has a QR code and the QR code reader as well. And then finally we have the Bebo assistant screen. This is just a chatbot. We can send messages and it knows my name and stuff because it has this core memory. I wanted to click this core memory. It can remember your name. It can also set your occupation and stuff based on the chat itself. And then it's gonna make these little memory thingies, entries, which you can edit, by the way. Yeah, you can make it forget, or you can force consolidate. It auto consolidates after, I think, 5 messages, maybe 10. I have no idea. You can also link your Google account, and then that way you can back up your stuff. It's all backed up, and then we can click restore, and then these are mostly like chat related stuff. Finally, we have a little about section. The app was also the first pilot for my chatbot, something I've been working on since early 2024. Back then, the whole bot was a few lines of code, just a simple API call. Bebo is an AI companion, like Tars from Interstellar, C-3PO from Star Wars, Jarvis from Iron Man, you get the idea. I always wanted my own little AI, and as of today, we actually can have that. Since those early days, Bebo has evolved into a very capable Discord bot. Feel free to invite him to your server, you can do that from my website. So I took all that chatbot logic and put it into the phone app, and obviously then I had to make it work with the desktop version too. Around the same time I was also working on Mango, another widget. It's much like Bebo with speech recognition and text-to-speech. And I actually made a physical chatbot. I got an ESP version working, more or less, and you can find that video somewhere on the screen, or down in the description. That ESP version proved that this could be a real thing. But I needed something more capable to run a speech recognition and text-to-speech locally, because the ESP simply couldn't handle it. I settled on this janky configuration where the ESP would stream audio, and my PC would do all the processing and then send back the audio. Volume 20.
Volume set to 20.
See? But this wasn't all for nothing. This ESP PC bridge is going to come in handy for the flip phone's breadboard prototype in the future. So why a flip phone? There is more than one reason for that. The main reason is that I simply don't like constant notifications pinging me all the time. They pull you out from the moment and feed screen addiction. And if you are watching this video while also being on your phone, that's exactly what I'm talking about. There is an increasing demand for these so-called dumb phones, without any social media. Some people also call it a screen detox. And ideally, this dumb phone is pocket friendly. It's small. Now, this was my very first phone, and somehow this form factor didn't really age well. Technology got smaller, but these devices got bigger and bigger. That doesn't make any sense. Now, the excuse here is that these feature phones are made for the elderly. But that's just straight bullshit, because both my grandmas use touchscreen smartphones. The other reason is reusing parts. They have cheap screens in one specific size, so okay, yeah, sure, let's save a few cents on that and just make the phone bigger. Yeah, I don't like that approach. And this phone was a bad purchase anyway, because as it turns out, it can't even support 4G. The calls were cutting off and I had to scavenge for an actual 4G capable flip phone. Now this is the 4G one. And for some reason they all have this extra row of buttons for no reason at all. I actually don't know why. Like, why? Like, back in the day, we just had this. It was so convenient to use. And the size difference is actually insane. The size difference between these two, you know, it's not that much bigger. Like, this is still reasonable. It's just kind of tall for no reason. But this phone, the 4G capable one, let me line it up. And basically the whole phone with the antenna itself is the same size now. It's almost as this outer screen is as big as the phone itself. This is ridiculous. So I sat down and opened Onshape. Now, I'd only ever made voxel art before. I had no experience with 3D modeling or CAD software. I think it took around 11-ish hours across 3 days to design my own flip phone from ground zero in the literal sense. It had to fit everything, so I searched up all the hardware that would be needed and I designed these dimensions around those parts. My biggest concern is the battery, but that's future me's problem. Looking at the UI of these flip phones, they are very basic. Surely I could make my own. Now that I have a 3D model, that's all nice and great, but a phone also needs an operating system. For some reason, modern flip phones try to be more than they should be. And then they can't even get the basic things right. So I reconstructed the same old, now familiar SmartClock interface in a custom browser-based emulator, and that's where I started building this OS. As for the emulator, we have these two files. One is the HTML file, which is the interface of the emulator, and then we have this one, which is the code itself. So if we just copy paste this, we can also save what's in here and then also load our files. So if we just click restart and then hold the hang up button for 3 seconds, we're gonna see this temporary thing and then we are booted. We can see that we have some signal bars, we have a simulated battery percentage, we have this clock on the main screen which also dims after a while. I think it's 15 seconds. We should see it dim, yep. And then we can close the flip phone. This is gonna put some stuff on the external screen. We can fade it back in with volume buttons, and then we can open it back up. We have a dialer thingy, and then we also have a mock menu which we can cycle through, but you know, nothing is in here. So all this code is apparently easy to translate to C, which is gonna come in handy when I actually write it for the ESP, and then it should give us this result once the ESP will handle all this with the actual hardware. You can even try it yourself, link in the description. And it will probably get updated pretty soon because the parts for the breadboard prototype are actually here. My next goal is to wire all these up and boot the OS you just saw in the browser emulator on the hardware itself. For the flip phone, join the waitlist on my website. Try the emulator, links in the description. The code is up on GitHub, and subscribe because in episode 2, the pile of parts start thinking it's a phone.